Hello and welcome. I thought that we should have a look at fictional Keir Starmer, and real-life Keir Starmer, and try and figure out which is the funnier. Because I'm going to compare a comedy sketch with reality. And when I say funny, I guess what I'm meaning is funny peculiar or funny tragic, because it isn't funny. But let's begin, at least with some potential actual humour, with Saturday Night Live. What we're going to listen to is and watch is the first SNL UK version, and they did a Keir sketch. See what you think of this.
Oh, golly. Well, what if Donald shouts at me? What do I say, Lammy?
Just be yourself, Prime Minister. Yourself is who everyone likes.
Now, you know, that might have been edgy a few years back when Spitting Image did its thing. In fact, it wouldn't really have been edgy then. And it certainly isn't edgy now, but you've got to appreciate that SNL and a lot of things that are on mainstream media have got to go only so far. But at least it shows some awareness of our current situation.
Hello?
I mean, that's probably quite accurate, to be fair.
Oh, sod that scary, wonderful president. Why is he so bloomin' difficult to talk to?
Sir, just be honest and tell him we can't send any more ships to the Strait of Hormuz.
Oh, crumbs. I just hate conflict so much.
Well, he seems to be okay at getting stuck in about certain parts of the population, the majority. But with some other people, of course, yeah, he's not that keen for reasons. So let's then go here to this. Now, this is a Liaison Committee, and it is Sir Bernard Jenkin who's going to be asking Keir some questions. And note the tone is quite different from PMQs, and also that, Keir gets a little bit tetchy here, which is, I think, very interesting, very telling.
Bernard Jenkin MP.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. But with the greatest respect about the Defence Investment Plan, the idea that the lack of the plan is not holding anything up is utterly ludicrous.
Do you get the tone right away?
Industry is crying out for certainty that it will bring, and the longer it's delayed, the longer that uncertainty exists. How can you create a 10-year plan without the Treasury making the necessary commitments for the next 10 years for the necessary levels of spending? They won't do that. The Chancellor says it's not on her desk, which means she said no, and she sent it back to the Ministry of Defence. How are you going to resolve this?
Great question. Direct. And making it personal. It's on his desk, in other words. So how are you going to resolve this, Keir?
Well, it's my job to resolve it. What I
Okay, we know that.
want to do is to make sure that the investment we need is going in, and that it's sustained over a 10-year period in accordance with the strategic review. And I want to get that right.
And yet, tempus fugit and time is of the essence. So
what I don't want to do is to set out commitments without being absolutely clear where the money is coming from.
sometimes you've just got to make a decision.
Of course, we need to take the time to get that right. Of course, it's not easy.
You know, being paid for it to be easy.
It's a lack of investment over many, many years. I think that's palpable, and everybody now accepts that the last government didn't invest.
I don't know about you, but I wish they would all stop saying that.
Anything like enough in our defence, and we're picking that up and turning it around. What I'm not going to do is put a plan that I can't explain exactly how it's going to be funded. We're finalising that. We're nearly there. It's my
How long has it taken?
job to resolve it, and resolve it I will.
Good.
Well, we clearly haven't communicated the necessary urgency to the Treasury, who need to come up with the money. And at Cobra this afternoon, you might just ask the question why the Treasury does not seem to realise that we are already at war, and we need to be in a war-fighting mentality to deal with the emergencies that we're facing.
I mean, isn't that good? Isn't that good? Isn't this exactly how this guy needs to be managed? So we're already at war. You might want to, when you step out here, when you go to that Cobra meeting, you might want to say this, 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 and this. It's almost like he needs that, someone following him around, a manager, in essence, as opposed to whatever strange handlers he has.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's why it's important that we are clear where the money is coming from. But because of the significant underfundment of the last government,
oh dear,
we have to make sure that we get this right. To be perfectly honest,
no, you have to make sure you get it right. Anyway, so nobody's going to argue with that. But stop drip feeding the last government. This will come back to bite him, by the way, soon. You know, stay tuned in a spectacularly, let's say, visceral and slightly vicious, but I hate to say it, but pleasant way, because it's what he deserves to hear. But that's coming up soon.
Zero-based review has thrown up all sorts of practices in the MOD, which have gone on for years, with overcommitment, underfunding.
Again, you know, yeah, you sort that. We don't need the sob story here. I'm sure there are things in there that need sorted, but this whole, wailing approach to things is, it makes you look so weak, and it is not solving things.
Nothing done on time. All of that I've said, I want the slate wiped clear. I'm not going on like that anymore.
How long have you been in power?
So the plan we're coming up with deals with, yes, the strategic plan, but I'm also clearing up the mess that I've inherited, because we can't go on.
Again, how long have you been in charge?
In the way that when I opened the books and saw the way this has been done for years, I needed to change it, and that's what I'm doing.
By all means, take your party political swipes.
Yeah. I mean, very, very, very gently said, but powerful. By all means, exactly. That's what the whole country's thinking. Get on with it, man. Stop with the griping and sniping and backtracking and finger pointing. This is now, and again, time is of the essence.
Well, here is a paper produced by me and a Labour MP, Derek Twigg, on the Defence Committee, with a foreword by Lord Robertson. We're all agreed that the government is not on a war footing and needs to be very quickly. Why is it not on a war footing now?
Okay, why is it not on a war footing now? Right now, just look outside, switch the news on.
Because the strategic review commits us to a war footing, and we now need to put the funding in place in order to get there. I've already announced the increase in defence spending to 2.5%, something that didn't happen under the last...
My goodness, would you listen to this? He's not reading the room. Or if he is reading the room, he just doesn't care, or he doesn't understand. And what does 2.5 mean anyway? And, compared to what?
Government, and where at the election a credible proposition wasn't put forward by your party, I'm going to...
By your party? Again, how long have you been in charge?
Do this, and I'm going to do it properly, and I want to be able to explain to Parliament where the money is coming from.
But it sounds as though you are at peace while we are actually at war.
Oh, ouch. Yes. Blunt, but effective, and yeah, it does sound like that, doesn't it? That's not, I think, in my opinion, the best bit. The best, just really holding a mirror up, so this guy can possibly see himself as others see him.
With respect, I'm clearing up the mess that I inherited from the last government. And
I dare say Winston Churchill had a bit of mess to clear up from the previous government. Margaret Thatcher had a bit of mess to clear up from the previous government. But now...
That was it. I think that's one of the best retorts, rebuttals and rebuffs in many ways of anything that Keir has said, which is stupid, outlandish, wimpish, deflection, and so on. In other words, a lot of the stuff that he says. Yeah. Winston Churchill. Maggie Thatcher. Isn't that interesting? Because this is exactly it. Like so what the Tory guy here is essentially saying is that's the job. You can inherit things like that. What are you going to do about it? Stop harping on. This is what I mean. He's either not reading the room, or doesn't care, or doesn't understand, or wow.
We are facing an urgency. Why were we so unready to defend Cyprus?
Well, we've got a lot of defensive capability in Cyprus, as you know, including...
Again, not answering the question. I come back to this. I mentioned it before when we listened to Ed Miliband, and it's like, if this was a company, you'd probably be sacking this guy. In some cases, it might even provoke disciplinary action.
The air capability there, and I've been constantly talking to the Cypriots about this. I was on the phone yet again to the President on Saturday at some great length.
Yep, many of us have to work at the weekends from time to time.
His assessment, same as my assessment, is that our two military teams are working as closely as they've ever worked now, and we are...
As closely as they've ever worked. It's almost like he tries to turn it into some sort of strange little fairy tale. Closely as they've ever worked.
Absolutely determined to do everything we need to do to defend Cyprus, and that's what I discussed with him at some length, not for the first time in recent weeks on Saturday morning.
Not for the first time in recent weeks on a Saturday, or just not for the first time in recent weeks? Anyway.
So we couldn't even stop a 150 kilometre per mile an hour drone from getting through to hitting a sovereign base in Cyprus.
Again, great point. Great point. So this guy, Bernard Jenkin, is really taking him to task. And whether you like the Tories or like this guy or not, I don't know anything about him, but this sounds to me like more real world questions. It's like this is what the flavour of what we all want to be asking him, not necessarily the detail, but as this Prime Ministership has gone on, he's drifted further and further into this political strange hinterland where only he seems to think that what he's saying makes sense and is effective. And this is a dose of reality coming his way.
That means we were unprepared. And the very fact that you immediately wanted to defend a destroyer meant you had failed to anticipate the need to defend Cyprus with a destroyer. But this smacks of...
Yeah, exactly. So what is going on? Where's this guy's focus? Where's this leadership team's focus?
A lack of war-fighting mentality that reaches right across the government, which is what we address in this paper about war-fighting readiness, where we are not at. And the chiefs of staff are saying we need to be ready for war. So when are we going to be prepared, and prepared for what?
We are finalising the investment plan. That sits with the Strategic Defence Review.
It smacks of an enormous complacency.
Well, this smacks of the fact that for years there was underinvestment by the last government, and the...
Yeah, he's not really annoyed about the lack of investment. He's annoyed. You can see it building up there before he snapped. He's annoyed that he's not been allowed to wriggle off the hook like he can often do in the more public or large public arenas and forums. He's being quietly and quite clinically taken to task here, not being allowed to not answer the question. Sorry about the double negative. That's what that is. Tetchy. How dare you? Now, how dare you? How dare you, Keir? This is embarrassing, cringe-making, but it's also damn well dangerous.
Stripping out and following out of our armed forces.
We've had 18 months
Copyright
to deal
Ben
with that.
Wallace, who was Defence
I'm
Secretary.
not making a party political point.
Well, honestly,
I agree with Ben
14
Wallace.
years of underinvestment,
I agree with
18
Ben
months for
Wallace.
Labour government.
But take
we're
drones,
picking-
for example.
We're picking
The whole-
up the underinvestment of your government.
Again, Keir, how long have you been in charge? Picking this up what this guy is saying, I believe is true. You just haven't woken up to it. You haven't acted quickly enough. You haven't been decisive. What are you and your team thinking about? Where are your priorities? But of course, this is to do with security. It's to do with securing the nation. So maybe that isn't a priority, if you get my drift. No pun intended.
The whole concept of warfighting has changed in the last 12 months.
I understand that.
I understand that. Yeah.
I was in Ukraine very recently, and the Ukrainian armed forces are mystified and want to offer help, as they are offering help to the Gulf states.
They are mystified.
To the NATO frontline states and to NATO JEF about how to prepare for drone warfare.
Yes.
This is being held up by the lack of the defence industrial plan.
No, it's not. I had President Zelensky in last week. I speak to him very, very regularly.
So it's been held up by the lack of the plan. No, it's not. I spoke to Zelensky. I speak to him, and listen to how it goes on here. And I think we'll begin to wrap this up. This meeting goes on a little bit, and it's more of the same. And I recommend you have a listen to it. It's absolutely fascinating. So just to get the name again, it's Tory MP Sir Bernard Jenkin, Liaison Committee. But let's just listen to this a little bit.
He was in last week for some time. I spoke exactly about this to him. I've been to see for myself on a number of occasions in Keir their capability. We are putting in backfill to that, working with them on industrial capability to produce drones with them. And I discussed this very issue with him last week. He did not, just for the record, he did not say that anything that they want to do is being held up by anything the UK is doing. On the contrary, he sees us as their foremost ally, and I'm very pleased that we've been able to achieve that, actually on a cross-party basis.
So this is where Keir, he seems to get these good feelings. He sees us as the best friend. But what do how are you buying those friendships across the globe, Keir? It seems to be something you're really interested in, because once more, Keir is really focused on the world stage. And in terms of decision making, based on this alone, but we have other examples of it, and actually being able to manage a situation and actually be able to read a room and read a situation and be preemptive and do something without getting 1,000 ducks in a row, well, that doesn't seem to be quite his thing.
How many defence reviews do you think took place during the Second World War?
Well, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know.
Yeah, again, how many defence reviews, Second World War? I don't know off the top of my head. So Keir is annoyed here. Doesn't get it. He thinks that the Tory guy's wrong. Keir.
Well, the answer is none. Well, because when you are at war, you get on with it. You don't wait around for a plan.
And that's kind of it, isn't it? I mean, there you have it. As I say, this goes on. It is, in my opinion, absolutely fascinating. It is in some ways more comical than the SNL sketch, but unfortunately, there are very serious ramifications of this guy being so far out of touch and so just not the right individual for this role, incompetent in that role. And I'm sure there are roles that he could be in that he's great at, and this is definitely not one of them. It's an abysmal showing. It doesn't invoke or instill confidence, I think, in anyone. It will not instill confidence in those around him in the Labour Party, and particularly those who would quite like that top job. And it certainly doesn't instill confidence in the nation, but perhaps even more importantly than that, the eyes around the world who'll be watching this must be saying to themselves, well, I thought this was an advanced country. I thought this was an advanced nation. I thought they were clever. I thought they were innovative. I thought they knew what they were doing. I thought they were ready. This is food for thought.